Hey y'all, so this is going to be a short, helpful video on point slope form. When we talk about equations of lines, everyone remembers slope intercept form. That's y equals mx plus b. But almost no one remembers point slope form, which to me is weird. Point slope form is my favorite, and I think it makes a lot of problems a lot easier. So here's point slope form. If you can remember this in Algebra 2 and pre-calculus, there's a lot of problems that are a lot easier with point slope form, including one of the problems that's going to be in one of your upcoming projects for my class. So here's point slope form. Again, we're writing the equation of a line. In this equation, y1 and x1 are just the coordinates of any point on the line. So if you know any point that's on the line, you can plug in the x and the y coordinate here, and then m represents the slope. All right. Let's put this into practice with a couple practice problems. Write the equation of a line in point slope form that goes through the point 5, 7 and has a slope of 12. So if you know a point that the line goes through and you know the slope, the easiest way by far to write the equation of this line is in point slope form. That's why it's named point slope. All you need is a point and the slope. All right. So we know the slope, that's 12. So that's going to be plugged in right here for m. And then we know a point that the line goes through, that's 5, 7. This is our x coordinate, this is our y coordinate. So this is going to get plugged in for x sub 1, and this is going to get plugged in for y sub 1. So all I did is I replaced y sub 1, m, and x sub 1 with the numbers that are appropriate. Things to note. This is my final answer, by the way. A lot of students are like so obsessed with slope-intercept form that they insist on converting this to slope-intercept form. Don't bother. This is a fully acceptable way to write any final answer for the equation of a line unless it specifies that it needs to be in another form. Leave it like this. Don't waste your time. One thing to note before we move on, even though these coordinates are positive, when we write point slope form, they end up with a subtraction symbol in front of them. Similar question. Write the equation of a line in point slope form that goes through the point -2, 6 and has a slope of 2/3. Pause the video and try this one on your own. Here's my answer. So again, 2/3, that got plugged in right here for m because that's the slope. And then y coordinate of this point got plugged in for y1. And then the x coordinate of this point, which is -2, got plugged in for x1. So again, you do need this minus negative, right? Whatever you have for the x coordinate gets plugged in here. So because our x coordinate is negative, we plugged in -2. So yes, we do end up with minus -2, which flips it to +2, right? Minus a negative becomes a positive. So this would be my final answer. Y minus 6 equals 2/3 times x plus 2 in parentheses. This is my final answer. I'm not going to bother rewriting this in slope-intercept form. This is great. Point slope form is great. Something to keep in mind. This coordinate is negative, yet it ends up with a plus sign in front of it. Right? That should make sense. Why? Because we had the minus negative, which changes it to plus, whereas this coordinate is positive and it has a subtraction symbol in front of it. This pattern that hopefully you're noticing is always going to be true. On this slide, we're doing the opposite of what we just did. I'm now giving you the equation of a line in point slope form, and I want you to tell me the slope and a point we know the line goes through. The slope is easy, right? We're always just looking at this coefficient right here for the slope. So the slope is -7/4. It's finding a point that the line goes through that's more difficult. So we need the x and y coordinates of that point. The x coordinate is going to be +2, and the y coordinate is going to be -6. And you should understand why this is positive and why this is negative if you understood what we did on the last slide. Remember, if the slope is positive, the coordinate is positive, it's going to have a subtraction in front of it. If it's negative, right, you end up with minus negative, which turns to a plus. So if there's a positive symbol in front of it, you know that the actual coordinate that the line goes through is negative. Hopefully that made sense. I know it's kind of a wordy explanation. See if you can do this one on your own. The slope is 8. Again, that's just, we take this number, that's the slope. And then the point that the line goes through is -2. Again, I know this is a negative coordinate because it has a plus sign in front of it. And then I know that this is a positive coordinate because it has a subtraction symbol in front of it. All right, so that's a crash course in point slope. Especially for this project, it's going to be extremely helpful and necessary to write the equation of lines in point slope form. Again, if you know any point that the line goes through, and if you know the slope, point slope is by far the easiest. All right, hopefully this is helpful. Feel free to email with questions.